So, Abba Father, thank you for this morning and thank you for the gift of life, for the opportunity to be here. Lord, as we go through this Shabbat, help us prepare our hearts, help us be aware of what you're doing and what you're saying. Help us be in tune even with the rest of the body, as most believers are pondering on your death, burial, and resurrection, Lord. Open our eyes, open our ears, open our mouths. We want to be sensitive to the moment. Help us be present in the moment. Help us be present with the presence. Lord, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for your love. Thank you, Yeshua. Amen. Amen. Well, today we have a very special week because we're not covering a Torah portion per se, which I gotta confess, I prepared for the next week Torah portion and then realized that we didn't have a so I'm like, okay, I'll hold the notes. But it's actually very exciting to go. That's why I only put an email, Passover. There are some sections that we can talk about that we got on the holidays. But I was thinking
If you prepared for next week, I'll let you have it. That's
Sorry?
my week. I said, if you prepared for next week, that's my week, I'll let you have it.
It's okay.
Okay.
But I was thinking, as this is a very unique week, most or all of you experienced a Seder. Did you guys went to a Seder this week? No? Okay, you guys, yes? So I was thinking, how about we start like digesting and processing as a Torah class, as a group, all the different elements. Kind of like seeing the Seder and what would you experience like if it was a chapter. And it's like, I was very, like for example, this year, for whatever reason, I was particularly, my emphasis went into the bitter herbs. Different than other years. Yes, every year I know what they mean, but I can tell I was getting related a lot more to the bitter herbs. So I want to start by asking, how was it? Does anybody I do this in my house. We ask for a high, a low, and a buffalo. That means what was good, what was low, and what was unique or special or different or like doesn't need a category per se. So let's take a few minutes and share our highs, lows, and buffaloes of Passover Seder. Who wants to go?
I'd say just being with the people, met some new people. It was just a joy to. I mean, the food was amazing, and I've got some leftover crushed chocolate caramel covered matzah.
Come on.
That's the best matzah that there is what it's covered with.
Yep.
Those ingredients.
Yeah, it feels like a
Lots of
toffee.
crack.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. It tricks your brain. You think you're having like a toffee and everything, and it's matzah. That's great. So the people, that's something you enjoy. That was meaningful. Again, the idea is to talk about these tradition elements, but also connect them and say like, was the Passover an individual practice?
No,
Devotional practice to be done?
not individual.
Not individual. It's live individual, like you live it, but even from the beginning, Egypt, sacrifice the lamb and gather. If that's too big for you, what do? You gather with another household. So it's always live together, and that is very special. Very special. What else? Russell.
How, being that it was Yeshua's Last Supper, how he shared with his disciples, what was
Yes.
about to happen.
Yes.
And that's what I've been reflecting on quite a bit, on what he did for us.
Yes.
I had an interesting focus this year, which started before the Seder, and we did it at our home group, and it was on the Dayenu.
Yes.
It would have been enough.
Mm.
And the expression of gratitude, and it would have been enough. So we had started prior to bringing from the chosen, we brought in how the women had all written their individual Dayenus. And we encourage people, or I encourage people, write your own Dayenu. So last night when we did the Dayenu portion at our Seder, several people shared a one line, it would have been enough reflection from that too. So yeah, that expression of gratitude that, he did this, like he saved my soul, and mine was basically, if he had only saved my soul but had not delivered me from my addictions, it would have been enough. But I'm really grateful that he took it to the next level, and that's what I see in the Dayenu, is going from the amazing things he did, and then he takes it to the next level.
Yes.
And so it was just kind of like, there was a woman that had always wanted kids. She eventually had 2 daughters, but her Dayenu was, if you had only given me 1 daughter, it would have been enough. So it was, just the gratitude thing was on me this year for the Seder.
I love it. Has anyone seen the scene of the chosen that Laura is referring, the women's Dayenu? Have you seen it? I totally recommend it. I even Googled it on YouTube to find, and you can find the scene per se if you don't want to go through the whole episode. But for those that have not seen it, basically the women, Jesus is with the women at the table, and they ask, "Hey, we prepare our Dayenu. Do you mind if we say it?" Jesus said, like, "Yes, go for it." Instead of going, if you had delivered us from Egypt, it wouldn't be enough. Instead of retelling the traditional story of Israel, each one starts going, saying, if you have delivered me from all these demons, but do not call me to follow you into your group, it wouldn't be enough. And each one is, and I remember seeing this scene personally, and I'm like crying out because the Lord is stirring my own life. Again, like from salvation to deliverance to healing to marriage, to have 3 kids, to call to ministry, like all of these tips I'm just going through and said, like, he had to stop on level 1, the Dayenu. It wouldn't be enough. But yet he's such a good father. Like going through the Dayenu is a good way to see that he's a good father. That is not only going like, well, that's my role, that's enough. Kind of like the stereotypical father that said, well, I have provided, what else do you want from me? Like, I bring money to the table every month. What do you else want from me? It's like, no, I want a father. Like, there's more. Well, that is our Father. Going beyond and beyond. I once heard that his love is like music. That music is the only thing that can keep going from crescendo to crescendo to crescendo. It can keep going and going up and going up. And once you think it hit already the highest peak, there's another round and then it hits a bigger hit. And it keeps going. And I'm just thinking, at the moment they're hearing that Dayenu, the Last Supper, they're about to hit another one with the calling of the nations into, which is gonna shake their world. It's gonna completely be like, what do you mean? Right? What do you mean? Are you restoring the kingdom now or not? That's the question in Acts. Are you doing it right now? Like you're resurrected. And someone's like, oh, I want you to go all to the earth of the earth. And I'm actually calling people from all the nations. Wow. Dayenu. So yeah, Dayenu was super cool. In our Seder, we had actually a very special Dayenu. Somebody said like, hey, I heard that special version of Dayenu, and I'm thinking, I don't know, something traditional or something like that. And it's kind of like a pop rap version of Diane, and it was hilarious.
The Maccabees.
Something like that. Two very orthodox looking guys going like very unique Diane. That's a unique Diane. What else? What other elements? And if you don't remember, I'll say at least what is in the plate. We got the roasted egg. It's very interesting. Has anybody ever meditated on the roasted egg? What is the roasted egg? Why is there a roasted egg? Does anybody know why do we have a roasted egg in there? Anybody knows why there's a roasted egg in there? Let's see if this
It's
mentioned.
related for the temple.
Say again?
It is related about the temple,
It is related about the temple.
Yes.
Actually, I'm gonna.
if I remember right.
I made a question I don't know how to answer.
There's a couple meanings behind it.
Go
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
related to the temple, and it also has to do with, there's an unending, like it doesn't start or end, so
Yes.
it's like a cycle of life
Come on.
type of thing too. So it really kind of depends on which bracket of Judaism
Yes.
you're in as to how they reflect on that.
Yes, makes sense. Roasted egg.
We talked about it last night.
That's cool.
Okay.
The parsley. Do you remember what was the parsley thing? We dip it on water
Salt
with
water.
salt.
Carpus, yeah.
Why?
Tears.
Tears. They taste like tear. They taste like salty, like tears.
But it's still tasty.
They're still good. I gotta confess, this time I enjoy everything, even the hot maror, like the hot, how do you call it, horseradish. Even this time I actually enjoy it. I know it's supposed to make you tear, but I was like, man, this is good. It was real, and when you put the apples on it, I bought the extra hot, expecting kind of like a Mexican hit, but no, it didn't. So
They've gotten really weak in time. It's really hard to find something that's
right, I thought it
that's
says
capable of
extra hot, and I was like, we even gave a warning, but no, it didn't hit that much. But the parsley. Okay, let's step one step back even. Isn't it amazing to have this experience where you're retelling a story and participating in elements? So in a way you're experiencing. It feels like in a Montessori kindergarten when I'm doing a Passover Seder. Like all your senses are involved in there. You're touching and you're hearing and you're interacting and the cups you dip your finger and you're like you're breaking some social protocols by dipping your hand into a cup and stuff like, but it's so interactive. It's so good. Yes.
That's what we learned in homeschooling our children is the more senses you
Really?
involve, love the Lord with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Come
You
on.
get everything involved.
It's all our senses are there. All our senses. And we're going through this. For those who just joined, we're going through the traditions and what happened in Passover. And we're in that moment where, what was your high, your low, and your buffalo? That's how we use it in our house. That means the unique or random or special thing that happened on Passover. And how can we all learn from this experience? We all have a shared experience that is going through. And I'm going to pass this eventually into what is happening during the weekend. And what are the elements that we used to remember? So we got the bitter herbs. Like I mentioned, this was something for me was like, I don't know why I made this connection, but it felt very strong to the whole Passover Seder. Egypt must have been very tough season. Like I'm saying, this gotta be a super hard. They're like slave and everything that is happening, even with the miracles and wonders that are happening, they're still getting like hard and hard and hard. So it was a very hard delivery, right? But what keep coming to my mind is, for whatever reason, it was Auschwitz. And how many people, obviously a lot of Jews, went through a very, very dark season in there with tons of suffering. And for the first time, I don't know why, but I make this connection, like how many of them would they remember the bitter herbs that they have practiced every year as they're going through a very bitter moment? And how? Because the meaning of the bitter herbs is like, oh, we're going through these tough times, but then you dip it also with the apples. What's the name? I lost it. The Haricet. And suddenly, what is the purpose of the Haricet? It's like to remind us that even through the bitter and hard and extra hot spicy, what is it? And what that sweetness represents? Hope. Hope. Which produces a lot of things. Hope is the ground where we can endure hardships. If we lose hope, how do we call that? Despair. And despair is not only, oh, I don't know how this is going to happen. Despair is not only, this looks very hard. Despair is lost. I don't trust anymore on God. So in a way, it's a completely abandonment. But it's hard. Guys, if anybody says simply, oh, you're going through a hard time? Come on, no, just keep your hope. That's a lot easier just to say than when you're going through something, really. And I'm sure everybody here, in some way or another, has gone through something hard. But hope, that solid piece of matzah with bitter herbs, and the horseradish that tastes super strong, and the apples, it's like, oh, I need that hope. I recently watched a movie, well, not recently, but in this year, Triumph of the Heart. Have you heard about that movie? Mm-hmm. Triumph of the Heart is a very unique private movie. So it's one of those movies done by individuals. So the only way to see it is actually going to the webpage and rent it or buying it and stuff like that. And basically the story of Maximilian Kolbe, which is a Polish priest that was sent to Auschwitz. And long story short, I don't want to spoil it, but long story short, on one moment, he exchanged his life for a Jewish man. And his journey is because he was anti-Semitic and he did a lot of things and then had a big transformation. The movie doesn't depict that. The whole movie happens inside of a room where they are sent to die. And the whole movie happens inside the room with 12 men inside. It's so unique. It goes slow. You got represented everyone. You got several Jewish people. You got some gypsies. You got socialism. You got the priests. You got it's so unique. But basically, as the title depicts, Triumph of the Heart. It's all about, they're sent there to die. Completely. And the hope does miraculous things. It's not a spoiler. They all die. But they all triumph. How? Whoa, that's a paradox. You would expect the winning section of the movie is eventually they release them and they're, no, the heart and the journey of each one of them as they're going through, so unique. So again, just thinking about, as we're remembering what happened, this is speaking to us right now. And he's speaking to what is coming also. So in a way, it's all of this is joyful, but it's an encouragement. It's meant to, to rise hope in all of us. Because we have seen it. We have seen his goodness. We have seen his kindness. And I don't know, we just finished saying do it again, Lord. Do it again. So that was my experience with the horseradish and the maror.
Miguel, there was I'm friends with Sonia, I can't pronounce her last name, the Holocaust survivor who just turned 100. And she had given me, she gave me her suggested reading list, but we were going through her bookshelf and she showed me she had a Haggadah for Holocaust survivors. So I ordered that book and they make the parallels of what they went through with Hitler in
Wow.
relationship to what they went through in Egypt. Yet, the promised land coming back into the land, I mean, but it was, yeah, it was like so fascinating to open this up and see Hitler's name in this, and I thought, so that story, to walk through that of more of a recent history rather than, and still see how the nation was birthed at the end of that, the people made their exodus or aliyah back to the land.
Yes.
So that parallel where we can feel like we can pull that in to recent history also. But yeah, there's two different people that did a Haggadah for Holocaust survivors, and it's just fascinating the parallels that you can pull in through there. But that's what made me think of the harshness of what they went through, yet the hope, and how at the end, you know, we have Israel reborn.
And I mean, I don't want to go too far into the weekend. I want to still stay on Passover,
Yeah.
but isn't that what Yeshua went through?
Mm-hmm.
He went through a hard time. Like, how is this day called in traditional Christianity today? Holy Saturday or Dark Saturday? Like, he went through, like, today is represented to be like the day in darkness. The crucifixion yesterday. Man, like, the suffering is without comparison. But for the joy set before him. Hold on, but again, that is easier said than done. I was, for respect reasons, I cannot go into details, but I was just a few weeks ago. I was in Mexico, going through with a family member regarding a maror, a horseradish bite. And it's very different when it's symbolical and when death and darkness is sitting at the table. It's very different. But at the same time, it's the same. At the same time, our hope is our hope. And those is the moments where we just hold on and when love is involved and when it's real. Man, those apples are longed for. You want to say?
And that's the thing with the haroset, for it to symbolize what they were layering in between those heavy bricks that were hard labor to put in place. In the same way, when we're going through the hardest thing we've ever had to go through, could have never imagined. The Lord has very interesting ways of interspersing hope and blessings and special surprises in the worst moments.
His provision. Man. I don't know that. You can tell that that was the emphasis for me this week, the horseradish part of it is like the way of it. It has not been easy. Let's say it that way. It doesn't take the glory of the Lord. But it just like brings the both ends, like, can I say it's not easy at the same time saying like he's worth it and I have hope? Like, can we say both things and grasp both things and say like, I trust you, Lord. We trust you. We trust you with our lives. We trust you with the body of Messiah. We trust you with Israel. Man, it changed the way we perceive bombings falling close our family, right? It's hard to say like, well, I'm sure somebody here has some moment or another heard Romans 8 being misquoted. And not meaning misquoted because they read it wrong, but because it's out of love. Somebody's going through something hard, it's like, oh, don't worry, everything works for good. And like, oh, you're not being sensitive to the moment. And yes, at the same time, everything works for good, but sorry, I'm bringing you guys to the tension. You can tell the soberness is quiet. But that's the bitter herbs. But it didn't end in there. It doesn't end there with Egypt. They were free. It didn't end in Auschwitz. A nation was formed. It didn't end on a tomb. My youngest daughter's favorite book, it's about Peter. And I have read it so much time that I can quote it back to you, line by line. And at one moment, when he betrays the Lord, it says that, and Peter was sad. You turn the page, it said, but Peter didn't stay sad because Jesus didn't stay dead. And then the story continued. But the tomb could not hold him. And that's why, I don't know, 1, 2 Shabbats ago, we were singing, ain't no grave, right? It's gonna hold my body down. What? Who are you people that have this hope? For a moment, I love to get outside of the group for a moment and look inside, like, who are you people that have this hope? Isn't that what Peter says? Be ready to give an account of your hope. Wow.
I think it's important to live our lives so that it shows, you know,
Yes.
and not like wait for someone to ask us. But I mean, they will if it shows. You know, if nobody's ever asking us, I think take some inventory. You know, we're to be different.
Wow. I'm feeling. I agree. Somebody else had a highlight, high-low buffalo from this Passover, an element we can dive into that caught your attention. We got the cops. Did somebody? We got 4 cops. I remember that was very enlightening the first time I heard it. Like going to the 4 cops. I was not aware of this. I always thought like long before entering this messianic context, it was like, oh yeah, they had bread, matzah, and they have wine. That's it. But the 4 cops and say, I'm not gonna drink this cup anymore. We're still waiting for the 4 cup to complete. So in a way, Passover got like, it was running, and it got like, extended. Why? Because we're still waiting for that last cup. That's pretty amazing. And when is that last cup happening? The wedding supper of the Lamb. That's gonna be a fascinating wedding. I love weddings, by the way. I think they're amazing, they're cool, they're joyful. Can you imagine? I can't. I can have glimpses, but I can't. How's it gonna be? I'm thinking, as we were preparing Passover, there were a lot of movement in my house for the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And many people coming in and out. And people bringing stuff, and other women. One moment I came to my own house and there were a lot of women. I'm like, okay, I think I need to leave the house for a moment. There were a lot of people in there and they were cooking. And one of them, Nadia, said, this remind me of the weddings in Algeria. She's from Algeria. Because over there, everybody participates in the prep and then they come as guests. But everybody's involved in the prep, the cooking. And in Mexico, in some parts, it's the same. Like, people are very involved. Could you imagine the preparation of that wedding? The styles, the dancing, the music, the meals, the drink, oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing. Welcome, sir.
We reflected a little bit on the 4 cups because they were the 4 I wills from Exodus 6. So we kind of went through, as we did each one of the cups, we remembered the I wills, the promises. And so, you know, sometimes that's like, Dennis Prager has a small book out on the the Passover.
Okay.
He did specifically about the Passover Seder, that the Seder is, in history, the longest celebrated holiday out there. And it's done
Come
the
on.
same way because they have the Haggadah, the order.
Yeah.
So they've always done this, and even completely secular Jews
Oh, yeah.
will still show up
Oh, yeah.
for the Seder.
Yes.
Because this is the story, it's the tradition of it, and it always is the same thing. So it gets built into you to know the promises. Even for those that are going, I don't believe in God anymore, but I'll show up because this is what our family does.
Yes.
They are still being taught of the faithfulness and the promises
Yes.
of God in there, which I think is what I love about the Seder, because we can go do Christmas or Easter or whatever with families, and a lot of times it doesn't even feel like God's in that. You know, it's
Yeah.
like we're giving gifts or we're having a breakfast
And
together.
we can
or whatever.
transform it enough that it's not longer.
Yeah, but the Seder, the focus is God. Regardless of where you at, you're sitting down and you're
Yes.
remembering His faithfulness, His I wills. I will deliver you. I will, redeem you. I will. And I like that about the four cups, is it's reinstating His promises, which is that hope measure there too.
Yes.
So even in the midst of relating to suffering
Yes.
with the bitter herbs,
Yes.
and it's funny, to watch people go, around
Yeah.
that, but you're relating, it's a relational thing in there. Like you
Yes.
said, it's a group, but that's where the touching and the tasting is, to keep that story alive.
Yes.
You have to activate your senses. You have to, otherwise it's just another
Yeah.
family gathering, and this is more than a family gathering when they do this.
Yes.
So yeah, the four cups, I like that aspect of it, because you're still you're going through the stages of everything that He promised to do and what He is promising to do. Like you said,
Yes.
the wedding supper of the Lamb. And then when you read in Exodus, He does the four I wills, but He does more than that, because then that final one says, I will bring you into the land. So that's where we get back to they're going through this. He made them promises to bring them out of this, but then He didn't bring them out
He's
to leave them in
talking
the
about-
wilderness.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you into that land again.
Yes.
And so that promise of going further and beyond, of just getting out of slavery, going into the land, which is why I really enjoyed Rabbi Jerry's teaching last week too, about getting out of Egypt.
Yes. And that parallel of getting out of slavery and going into the land, it's so significant. Coming back to what we talked earlier about the Dayenu, like, He does have the full picture in mind when He sees us. And He's bringing us into that level of maturity and health and restoration and holiness. And it's like, I'm calling you forward not only to rescue out of slavery, which Dayenu would be enough, but
Yeah.
no, He's like, no, I won't let you there.
Yeah.
I won't let you there. Come on, son, come on, daughter. And it's like a calling more and more and more. In all of this hope that we're talking, it's a love story. I know it sounds more like a cosmic war, but it's a love story in both, right? Again, I love both ends. It's both. And I don't know if you notice, and this is a tradition. Well, what is the book of the Bible that gets read during Passover in Jewish tradition?
Song of Solomon.
Song of Solomon. Do you know that? I think this is, we're going deep. And we will. But I don't know if only today, but we still have another meeting, another Passover meeting. So Meaning, Song of Songs. What? You're talking about suffering, you're talking about slavery, you're talking about all of these things, and you're bringing the most romantic, erotic book in the Bible? Before telling you what I think about it, what do you guys think about it? Why, like, why in the world, and just for reference, different, for example, Skenazi's read it on the last day, Sephardi's read it in the middle, some read it in the second night. So how it's being read changes, but they all read it. So it's very significant. Why Songs of Solomon? Everybody knows the book, right? Hopefully you have read it. If not, go for it. It's really good. Why? Jump in. Yes.
Well, just my personal understanding, I'll just put it personal
There you
understanding,
go.
is he is our bridegroom king. And that's the culmination of the wedding feast, the faithful bride, those who endure and overcome.
Yes.
And so it all culminates, everything he had to go through, everything we persevere through will end on the day of Solomon's wedding, which I believe is a type, a shadow of Yeshua.
I agree. How do you guys think? I think that is correct, and is the eschatological response. That's where we're going. Now, how do you think these Israelites are perceiving this connection? So if we can build from the gap. So yes, completely true. Now, how do you think an Israelite is perceiving? What is the connection they're making?
When we say Israelite, you mean modern Jewish people?
I mean historical Jewish people before Yeshua and non-Yeshua believers. Let's be more specific. How do you see the connection? What do you think they will? It's opinion, so don't worry.
There's probably a large number of Jewish people, they don't even know anything about that, in terms of Song of Solomon, but I think if you get into the religious Jewish community, that they really live their Judaism, and they're following the portions, and they're doing all the traditions and the blessings, that would have a lot of meaning for that crowd. But outside of that, it's probably a lot, like I said, that they wouldn't even.
Probably
know
most
what you're
people don't
talking
even
about.
exactly know about it or think about it.
Yeah. Like example, so even a conservative Jewish person, used to have a boss years ago who's faithfully go to a conservative synagogue. I was rather amazed at like how little he knew about the Exodus story, like the events in the time of Exodus. It was clear to me he didn't know what he was talking. Half of what he was saying wasn't even true, and that in his mind it was true.
Of course.
And, so it's just interesting to me, like, wow, okay, conservative synagogue he's attended for decades. He had that little understanding, and then I'm like the goy, new on the block, and like I knew more about it than he did, and it was just like it really, like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
That's unique. Yeah. What do you guys think? Song of Solomon for Passover. That's quite a connection. It sounds like an oxymoron, a paradox.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of suffering, you're gonna bring me your wedding.
The spring.
Spring.
Spring that's important concept in Song of Solomon. The springtime, winter's past. Or just something.
So both happen in spring. That is a true connection. Both happen in spring. Another connection is that Song of Solomon mentions Pharaoh. Do you know that?
Right. Okay.
Mentions Pharaoh when she's making a very unique description, saying like, I have likened you like the horses of Pharaoh to the chariots. I don't know, so make some poetic connection on the horses and the chariots, but it's making a reference. Yes, Lori.
Chapter 8
Yes.
has the protecting love, who is this coming up from the wilderness,
Yes.
leaning on her beloved,
Come on.
so we've got that, the Lord bringing her out, coming up from that. And of course, I also love the way it ends, because it says, come quickly, my beloved. Of course, I wrote Bo Yeshua next to that. But I feel like there is a she goes through some stuff. She feels like she's separated. She's looking for him. But here at the end,
Yes.
she's got him delivering her up through the wilderness.
Come on.
So I see that parallel in there.
That's beautiful. Actually, Song of Songs, I did some research, and Song of Songs from the non-believing in Yeshua Jews, they have a hard time because a lot of the connections that they can find sound very Christian. So in order to explain it, they have to explain that what they're not. Like, I'm not trying to say this and this and this, but like we don't believe that God took any human form, but this parallel, and then goes to explain a human form parallel of union of God and the people. So it's very unique when you read commentaries on these. They actually need to make it like a pre-answer before they can actually answer. But it's still very interesting. What Lori was saying, I think it's a very key aspect. The courtship of the bridegroom toward the bride is not, this is a very special word. Because when we think of the body of Messiah, the church, when you think about yourself, you are not a project in God's hand that He's just trying to improve, like technicians improve a product. Oh, here you go. Here's your 2.2 version. You need to do a software update. Oh, I didn't know that about all that. Okay, let's have you a new software for. He doesn't see us that way. That's completely transactional. Have you ever thought of like this journey with God? It's a courtship, both in the individual sense and in the corporate sense. Sinai is usually depicted as a wedding betrothal. The way the commandments are read is the same way a wedding commandments were read. That's very unique. First it tells the story, then the promises, then the curses, and then I'm losing the part. History, promises, curses.
Sons of the covenant, right? The ring,
Probably.
Shabbat.
And a mystery. I'm just kidding. It's something, I lost it. But it's just this building up into love relationships that ends up in what? There's one word. In union. In union. How does Revelation end? Saying, and God will be, God and man will be together. He will be his God, and they will be their people. That they may be one. There. Man, this Bible keeps getting smaller.
So it's basically repeating
Go
what
for it.
Exodus 6:7, I will take you to myself as a people, I will be your God. And you know that I am Adonai your God, so there's that unity there. And so
Yes.
he's constantly throughout scriptures telling them,
You
I
will
want to
my
be your
people.
God and you
Be my people.
be my people and we can be
Yes.
together. So yeah, that unity is
That unity. What did the prophet says? Do you remember who was Amos? I think it was Amos 6, where he said like, I'm gonna give you like the ability to surround me, to grab me, to hug me. Have you ever hugged somebody that doesn't hug back? Have you ever had that experience? Talking about kinesthetic, that you go like a hug, and they're like, it's awkward. It's very awkward.
so just hug tighter.
So exactly, hug until they hug back. It's awkward when you hug somebody and
I got
like,
you, Mike.
what are you expecting? When you hug somebody, what are you expecting?
Them to hug.
Something like a movement,
Yeah.
an arm, a pad, a leaned head, something, a response. When I read that part, it says like, and you're gonna like hold your husband, like you're gonna be able to respond. Sometimes I like to ponder on these things. Why somebody doesn't hug back? Like in reality, why you wouldn't hold back?
Emotionally, like, people of walls, like, I'm not gonna let you in, it's too close,
Too
too
clo-
vulnerable, too.
Too
you know,
vulnerable.
yeah.
Which means what? If I'm doing that to you, which means
They've been hurt. I mean,
I don't trust you.
Trust, yeah.
I don't trust you. Could be for whatever reason, but at the end, it's like, no, you cannot be this close. What else?
They're afraid of appearances, that, oh, I shouldn't be hugging that person.
There you
That
go.
person shouldn't be hugging me, because,
Yeah. That's unique.
for whatever reason.
That is very unique. You got something.
Well, maybe it was just me, but I think I came from a generation that hugging wasn't something you did casually.
You did?
We did not.
Oh, did not. Okay.
You know, you guys didn't hug guys.
It was not well seen.
What?
It was not well seen.
Not to me, it wasn't.
I understand culture matters.
Yeah.
Culture matters. If you go with me to Mexico, there are some places, guys, you're gonna get kissed and you're gonna be like, what is happening? Am I that attractive? I'm like, no, it's culture. You're gonna be introduced to everybody and everybody's gonna be kissing you and you're gonna be like, what's going on?
Get your hands off me.
Exactly. and if we go to France and suddenly a guy, a bearded guy that still pokes you, kiss you twice, you're gonna be like, what just happened? Yes, there's a cultural element. There's like this weird. Yes, I like to go to the reality because sometimes it's just weird. I don't know you. I don't know you because even in your generation that you're describing, if your dad or grandfather did it, would it feel that awkward?
No. No.
I know you, and you know you mean well. And it's completely different. I also grew up with men didn't kiss. The only person allowed was dad. That's the only one you actually like went like, hello dad. And you, and when I said kiss, we do the cheek kind of thing. But your dad was the only one. Like, you did that.
Yeah.
Why? There's a bond. It goes beyond, man.
It's so totally dictated by culture. You think that final scene of Schindler's List, and they're all standing around in such an emotional moment. He's saying, I could have done more, and they all just stand there. I mean, no hugging, no handshaking, no just.
I know. So there's the cultural element, but there's the fear, there's the knowing. There's a lot of things, but when you get a response back, it feels so genuine. Think of your children. Think of like, we have been going out for outreaches, and I can remember several persons, and after sharing and giving the life to the Lord, the reaction is, I'm completely a stranger to this moment. And after we went through the whole process and they're crying and everything, they're like, can I give you a hug? And we hugged, so here we are hugging two strangers in the middle of like, I don't know, it's just that belonging, it's just that, it just feels right to be in union, in a safe contention union. I don't know how we went that far in with the hugging, but it's very unique. And also, again, the cultural says a lot. A lot. Okay, I need to. Okay, so that's why we were song and songs and you. So I think that is a very unique reality of the betrothal that eventually is gonna be, it's building up. It's building up. So Passover, I was just talking that with my daughter. Like Passover, the theme of Passover keeps going. We just mentioned it with Auschwitz. Keeps going, but eventually there's one book by Dan Juster called Passover, the Key to Understand the Book of Revelations. So Passover, the elements that are happening, it's also something foreseen for the last battle, let's say it that way. Deliverance, the going through the midst of everything, protection, but inside in there, and unto what? Unto just a victory? Unto union. That's why we finish with a wedding. Unto union. The restoration. And not only the restoration, but the growth expression of Eden. It's not just we're going back. We're moving forward.
And it's also starting the whole cycle of the feasts.
Yes.
that are gonna end with Sukkot, the end gathering.
Come
So
on.
as we begin, we're telling the whole story of redemption all through the cycle.
Come on. Yes, and Paul picks on that. He said, like, the Lord he's our Passover lamb, sacrifice to redeem us. Is that the end of the story? No. We still have first fruits. It's like as he has resurrected, all of us were gonna also be joining. He's our big brother in that sense, in the resurrection. Does it end there? No. Then we also have Shavuot, Pentecost. The Holy Spirit is gonna be poured out on every person. Male, female, young and old, servant and master. It's just going like, it's the gathering. Unto what? Unto this big, beautiful day of union. That's why at the end it says, next year in Jerusalem. It has a physical application, but also has a spiritual application. And again, which one is it? The answer is yes. Yes. Do you mind that day that he comes back? As the bride entering. Here's Songs of Songs. Read it again. There's a section where the bride is going everywhere looking for the bridegroom. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And eventually, the reunion. Here he comes. That is just, I don't know, so beautiful. And these Passover elements, everything we're talking about, the traditions that we're celebrating, I want to encourage you to let them be hope encouragers. Our Passover and Jewish traditions, but also you're going to be seeing a lot. Again, we're going to Holy Week. Is there something good, true, and beautiful to learn from it? Plenty. Plenty. Even today, like I mentioned.
I want to ask a question.
Go for it.
The next year in Jerusalem.
Come on.
So, you know, I always like to say that because I still haven't gotten to go there. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
kind of like a promise that maybe someday I'll go to Israel. And kind of begin where he says, I'll take you into the land. And kind of begin where he says, I'll take you into the land. The next year in Jerusalem, to me, is a statement of a promise that there'll
Yes.
always be a Jerusalem.
Come on.
And so that kind of like elevated a little bit. Like even if I can't be there, just saying next year in Jerusalem means that
Oh.
it will be there. Like
Come
it's
on.
total Zionism, right?
Yeah.
That Jerusalem will always be the headquarters of the promise.
Come on. Yeah, I follow
And
what you
so, you know, where I'm kind of going on that. So I think it goes beyond the we
It's
want to
not
do,
only we're going, it's,
Yeah.
it's an affirmation of the promise that will be there.
it will be there.
And even when it was not, I'm thinking, as you were saying this, all of those years that Jerusalem was not there. That's going to be hard. Next year is Jerusalem, and it's been almost like 1,800 years and no Jerusalem.
Yeah.
But there's still hope,
There's a promise that
right?
it will be
It's like,
there.
that was a big weight. That was a lot of more work.
I might be wrong, but I think
Go for it.
if you're in Jerusalem, it's next year with the new temple,
With the new temple?
I think is the.
Okay. That's good. Good. Interesting.
Yeah, I
Let's
don't
let's
know.
search it. That's interesting.
They say they add the Hebrew word at the end, just meaning the rebuilt.
The rebuild.
The rebuilt.
So at the end, he's talking about this exile reality or the completion reality. Both ends. Like either we're in exile and we're expecting to be regathered, Jeremiah 31:30, like I'm gonna send you back. It's the homecoming.
Mhm.
It's the homecoming. I'm saying another way of saying like, oh, how I long to be home. How I long to be home. This movie that I told you, Triumph of the Heart, the way it ends. Again, probably I don't like to spoil pictures, movies, but all this suffering, everyone that is going, eventually, all of them, because the last one that goes, they're going to a wedding party. And when the last one enters the wedding party and they're dancing, even you as a watcher, all the suffering that you went through, and they're all dancing, suddenly everything makes sense. It's that moment of home where everything will make sense. Even when in this side, most things don't make sense. For the important ones. But it's that hope, say, next year, into the fullness.
So
Go for it.
ultimately, and what makes it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Okay.
Because the destination, the journey, and even the initiation, we can even say the destination matter. Why it matters? Because our origin matters. So we can even add the first one. Because of who we are. So in a way we're talking, that's why the connection looks so similar. Are we going to Eden? No, we're not going back, we're going forward. But the original also speaks unto, because what can we see in the original? There's an echo of the past that speaks to us that says there's something more than what I'm living right now. There's something more. There's an echo, even though none of us were in Eden. We all have an experience that said, like, there's something more. For whatever reason, I long, C.S. Lewis words. If I have a longing that cannot be satisfied in this world, my longings are created for something that is above, from outside of this world. So I have an echo that says, oh, there's got to be more. But there's also, in all of us, a premonition of the future that says there's going to be a completion. So in a way, the whole, everything is the journey, because who we journey with, and the destination, who we gather with, that makes it all matter.
That's it. The what makes the destination important is how you got there.
And who would you, exactly, with whom? How you
Yeah.
got there is Yeshua.
Yeah.
And the reason that heaven is so excited and fulfilling is because Yeshua and his inheritance. What is his inheritance? Does he have a lot of gold? What is his inheritance? Does he have a lot of jewels?
The nations.
People from all over the nation, families, and in you, all the families in the earth will be gathered. You get to see many people that are going to make you tear, but in happiness. Oh my goodness. So, this is a very special weekend. We're about to enter service. We're going to be partaking of Lord's Supper, communion. We're going to be remembering his sacrifice. And as we enter that, I want to encourage you to make every effort in your mind, body, and strength to enter in. To enter in. To give yourself, if there's anything that is hindering you in sin, confess it today. Bring it out. I did this with my girls yesterday. I said, like, hey, kind of like a jubilee moment. I said, girls, we were trying to remember the cross. I said, like, until I stand up from this chair, I was sitting there. Anything that you confess that you have done that I don't know is going to have zero consequences. This is your opportunity. If you have done anything wrong that I'm not aware of, whatever it is, it's going to have zero consequences while I'm sitting in this chair. And you can see their faces going like, it's interesting. Should I go and all that? So like anything. In just excitement, and so, most are too young even to grasp the whole process of the consequences, but not all. I have others that are starting to understand a lot more, and I'll bring that to you. Like, what would you bring forward if you knew it will be forgiven? Would you dare to bring it forward? And remember, this is not a project. You are not a project of the Lord. This is his courtship. And he's bringing you in with, how do you say it? Lazos, with ropes of love. I'm assuming that's how it says on.
Chords, I think.
Cords. He's drawing you near. May the Lord give you a full experience of forgiveness and the hope of resurrection. And the hope of resurrection for all of us. May the Lord strengthen your faith. And may us be vessels of His love in this earth. Shabbat Shalom.